So the matchup between New Zealand and Ireland has just come to a close, the All Blacks winning at 26 points to 13. But this game was far from what people expected. And I do feel like there's a lot to break down. There's a lot that went wrong for these two sides. There was a great last patch from New Zealand to help them secure the victory, but both sides, they'll have to go back to the drawing board for the rest of their November internationals. But we're going to be looking through it. First of all, we need to talk about it. A red card 3 minutes into the game. It did take quite a few minutes for the TMO to review it. Tadhg Beirne red carded from the get-go for the tackle on Beauden Barrett. Now, the benefit that we did have of that red card was the fact that it was only a 20-minute red. And during that 20-minute period, Ireland and New Zealand actually scored the same amount of points. So it didn't cost them in that regard, but not having Tadhg Beirne for later on in the match, I think did hurt the Irish quite a bit. But we did still see some very competitive line-out work from the Irish. They had Cody Taylor in all sorts of trouble. So I do think even with that red card that we did see, Ireland still put in a massive shift here. Certain players stepping up. Stuart McCluskey was brilliant in that 12 jersey. James Lowe using that long boot as we knew he would. And some decent work in the back three as well from the Irish, which was exactly where they had to be dangerous. They won the territory battle. They won the possession battle throughout the 80 minutes of the contest as well. For New Zealand, they had certain players who were able to step up quite nicely, although quite a few early injury concerns for the Kiwis. We saw the captain, Scott Barrett, go off with a cut on his leg. We saw Geordie Barrett go down with a knee injury not long after. Beauden somehow stayed on the field after taking multiple head knocks throughout the 80 minutes. Simon Parker also off for an HIA, although he did end up returning later on in the contest. So it was extremely physical out there on the field. We also saw a head knock for James Ryan. So both sides really having a few wounds coming out of this game. But for the Kiwis, in terms of the players who stepped up, I would say that Peter Lakai was one of the shining lights of this loose forward trio. Savia had some crucial moments too, getting the occasional turnover thrown in there. Fabian Holland, he actually received man of the match. And Whanā Nuku, when he made his way off of the bench, also brought some quite nice impact to the AB side. But I do think it was a couple other men off of the bench that made all the difference. Wallace Satiti, the super sub, managing to score himself a try. The assist went the way of Damian McKenzie, and even someone like a Josh Lord, I felt was really stepping up throughout the game as well. But it was just a weird one, is the best way of describing it. It was very stop-start. The first half of 40 minutes took 51 to get through it because of all the stoppages that they ended up having. There was a lot of penalties. I think 21 in total between the two sides. 11 against Ireland, 10 against New Zealand. And it seemed like neither side were really able to get the hang of how Pierre Brosset was going to be refereeing this one. And sometimes that can be the difference between a win and a loss. If you can work out the referee and work out what's getting penalised, you can adapt and you can start moving forward. And I do think that throughout that last 20 minutes, that is where New Zealand, with the impact of their bench, and as Ireland started to tire a little bit more, that's when we started seeing New Zealand find their rhythm. Started playing like people expected them to from the start of this match. At the end of the day, it was not too long ago that they were playing in the Rugby Championship. But for Ireland, it's been a long time since we have seen them in action. Their last game up against Portugal, where they were able to win at 106 points to 7. But their next game, it is up against the Japanese next week. Then from there, they have got a game up against Australia, and then it is the World Champ box for their final match of the year. So this is where we do need to see some consistency as well as some adjustment from the Irish, because they had moments throughout this game where they did look strong. That first try of Tadhg Furlong, it was beautifully set up. New Zealand, their scramble defence wasn't quite set, and Jamison Gibson Park just kept on making those great decisions to feed the Irish through a gap. We saw the 4 tries in the end for New Zealand. Ardie Savia scoring in the 19th minute. That was off a great offload of Leicester Whanā Nuku. And like I said, he was one of the players who did manage to step up alongside Tupaia in that midfield combination. We also did see the try for Tamaiti Williams, Wallace Satiti, and Cam Roigard. But this was the first time, I think in a very long time, that New Zealand have scored 3 tries in the last 20 minutes. At times throughout this year, we haven't even seen New Zealand score 1 try throughout that final phase. But I do want to know your thoughts on this game. I know that there was a lot of frustration from reading the live chat. It was to do with the ref. It was to do with that red card. And also, I think there was just general frustration of why neither of these sides, as good as they are, were able to get any sort of motion going in the right direction. If it wasn't for that last 20 for the ABs, this game could have gone right down to the wire, and perhaps it could have been a three-pointer to decide them. But in the end, a 13-point win. I think New Zealand will take that every day of the week. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.